Somewhere right now, a dog is lying on the floor, completely asleep, and its paws are moving, not twitching randomly. Moving like it's running. Its eyelids flutter. It lets out a small, muffled bark, mouth barely opening, like it's trying to shout at something that isn't there. You've seen this. Almost everyone who's ever lived with a dog has seen this, laughed at it, maybe filmed it, maybe wondered for half a second before going back to whatever you were doing. But sit with it a little longer than that, and the question underneath it gets strange fast. Is there something happening inside that dog right now? A place, a chase, a version of the world only it can see, complete with smells and shapes, and maybe even other dogs? Or is it just muscle noise, meaningless static, nerves misfiring on their way to nowhere, and you're the one doing all the imagining, projecting a whole inner world onto something that's actually empty behind the eyes? Let's start with what a dream actually is, biologically. In humans, dreaming is tied to a stage of sleep called REM, rapid eye movement, discovered in 1953 by Eugene Oserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman at the University of Chicago. During REM, your eyes dart around behind closed lids, your brain activity looks almost identical to being awake, and your body goes essentially paralyzed. That paralysis isn't an accident. It's a safety mechanism, a switch that stops you from physically acting out whatever your brain is generating. Scientists confirm REM in animals the same way they confirm it in humans, by measuring electrical activity directly from the brain and watching for that specific signature. Fast, desynchronized waves paired with total muscle slackness, then correlating it with the rapid eye movement itself. Nearly every mammal studied this way has the same stage. Dogs have it. Cats have it. Rats have it. Even some birds show a compressed version of it, sometimes lasting only a few seconds at a time, which means the hardware for dreaming, whatever dreaming actually is, isn't unique to us. It's old. It's shared. It showed up somewhere deep in the evolutionary tree and never really left. But having the hardware isn't proof of the experience. So scientists went looking for something harder to explain away. In 2001, a neuroscientist named Matthew Wilson at MIT ran an experiment that still gets cited as one of the strongest pieces of evidence we have. He recorded neurons in the hippocampus of rats, the brain region responsible for spatial memory, while the rats ran laps around a track for food. Then he kept recording while they slept. During REM sleep, the exact same neural firing patterns reappeared, in the same order, at almost the same speed as the original run. Wilson could watch a sleeping rat's brain and tell you, with real accuracy, where in the maze it currently was. Not vaguely. Specifically. The rat wasn't just processing memory. It was replaying it, moving through the same corridors again, just without a body attached. Then there's the cat experiment, and this one is harder to sit with. In the 1960s, a French neuroscientist named Michel Jouvet, working in Lyon, made small lesions in a structure near the brainstem in cats, the same area responsible for that safety paralysis during REM. Without it, the paralysis didn't happen, and the sleeping cats started to move. Not randomly. They stalked. They pounced at nothing. They arched their backs defensively, like something invisible had just startled them, and some even went through the motions of grooming, as calm and routine as if it were the middle of the afternoon. Jouvet called it oniric behavior, from the Greek word for dream. He never claimed to know what the cats were experiencing, and he was famously careful about that distinction his entire career. But the behavior wasn't noise. It was structured, purposeful, sustained, exactly the kind of motion you'd expect from an animal that was hunting, or being hunted, somewhere none of us could see. It's not just mammals. Zebra finches, small songbirds, learn their songs the way human infants learn language, by listening and practicing for months. In 2000, researchers led by Daniel Margoliouth found that the neurons controlling a zebra finch's vocal muscles fire at night, in patterns that mirror actual singing, as if the bird is quietly rehearsing, sometimes even improvising slight variations it's never sung out loud before. A sleeping bird composing, and then it gets stranger, because in 2021, researchers in Brazil filmed something in an animal most people wouldn't expect to dream at all: octopuses. During a stage the researchers called active sleep, an octopus named Costello, along with several others studied, would suddenly shift color, rippling through deep red, rust orange, stark white, while its skin texture changed and its eyes moved rapidly, all while completely still otherwise. Normally, octopuses change color to camouflage or communicate with something in their environment. Asleep, with nothing around them to react to, the colors kept shifting anyway. The researchers' honest conclusion was that they couldn't prove it was a dream. But if it is, they said, it's probably not a story. It's more like a few seconds of replayed color, a flicker, a GIF, not a plot. An animal separated from us by 500 million years of evolution, doing something that looks, from the outside, remarkably like remembering. Here's where a careful scientist pumps the brakes, and it's worth actually sitting with the objection instead of rushing past it. Everything so far is behavior. Neurons firing in familiar patterns, muscles moving in familiar shapes. None of that proves there's an experience attached to it, a felt sense of running, of singing, of being chased. A rat's hippocampus can replay a maze the same way a computer can replay a recording, without anything it's like to be the computer while it does. Philosophers have a word for the part that's actually missing here: qualia. The raw, felt texture of an experience, not the information itself, but what it's like to have it. The philosopher Thomas Nagel made a version of this argument famous in 1974, asking what it's like to be a bat, and concluding that even with perfect knowledge of a bat's brain, we'd never actually know what its sonar-built world feels like from the inside. The same wall shows up every time we ask what's happening inside another mind, human or otherwise. We can watch the replay. We can't watch the feeling. Maybe there isn't one attached at all. Just an efficient brain doing efficient filing at 3 a.m. No lights on, nobody home. Just very well-organized darkness. But then you go back to the dog on the floor. Paws moving. A small sound escaping its throat. And you notice something the skeptical explanation doesn't quite sit well against. If this were only useful memory filing, quiet and internal would be the efficient way to do it. Instead, across species separated by hundreds of millions of years of evolution, from a rat's legs to a bird's throat to an octopus's skin, the replay keeps leaking out, spilling over into the body, as if whatever is happening inside isn't just data being sorted, as if something is being lived through again, even briefly, even without an audience. We don't know what a dog sees when its paws start moving. We don't know if a sleeping octopus experiences those 40 seconds of shifting color as anything at all, or if there's simply nothing it is like to be an octopus in the dark. That gap hasn't closed. It might never close. But every few years, another species turns out to carry some flicker of the same machinery we carry, replaying its day in private, in a language none of us will ever be fluent in. Maybe none of them are having anything close to what you'd call a dream. No story, no plot, no fear or joy attached, just neurons tidying a filing cabinet in the dark. Or maybe every mammal that's ever slept beside you, every bird that's ever gone quiet on its perch at night, every strange, ancient creature drifting in the dark water, has spent some private, unwitnessed portion of its life somewhere else entirely, somewhere none of us will ever be allowed to visit. So the next time you watch a dog's legs twitch mid-run toward nothing, you might be looking at the oldest, most private theater in the animal kingdom, playing to an audience of one. Somewhere, it might already know how the story ends. You never will.